vegetation artist at the games for the Megascans content site. I lost count because math is hard, but I spent well over 10 years in the industry working on games and vegetation. Not much to say about me, to be honest. I'm a pretty boring person. I like nature, I like trees, spending time outdoors. I have too many cats. Get one, you have three, that's how it goes. So kind of why did I choose a career in vegetation? Well, I always enjoyed kind of working on more the organic parts of the environments, and I really like the technical challenge of making vegetation look good and perform well. And also really like kind of enjoy working on the pipeline as well to solve some of the complex problems we face. A very quick overview of the agenda today. A quick heads up, we won't be covering any of the recent managed foliage content that we revealed at Orlando, or UFS Orlando, but we'll focus on what's available today and what they can use right away. We will go over some updates to the content. We will break it down a bit by geometry and shader features. We'll also have a different live demo to go through all of these things as well live. And a quick outro, we'll just cover a little bit of what's coming next tech-wise. So, why did we decide to update the library? Moving on to a new platform kind of gave us a good opportunity to just unify all the content, bring it together, and just have a bit of a fresh start. The timing made no sense, but yeah, it wasn't that easy. It was going to try to unify 5+ years of content to the same standard, but we did it. This slide. So a little bit further into the whys. We wanted to increase the ease of use of the content we have. We wanted to also increase the amount of customizability we do. We wanted to offer more scalability as well on the shader level and the mesh level. Be able to better adapt your content into different ecosystems or regions. And lastly, taking more advantage of some of the more recent developments in the engine as well. Which brings us to what is new for the Megascans plant library on Fab. All plants now have a dedicated nanite tier, which doesn't use any more opacity masking. So it's all pure geo, basically. And why is this important for nanite? It gives us faster rendering, as mask materials does slow down nanite quite a lot. We're also able to put in a bit more detail than before, so you can kind of keep better botanical correctness overall, I would say, in assets. We can kind of work away some of the more kind of hardy looks that we had in the past. The downside is that it has a higher footprint, but with the upcoming nanite foliage, we're trying to solve that as well. And in some cases, that is actually more. We went in to look over our packs. We did reduce the amount to kind of remove redundancy and just make it more digestible in general. And it's something we'll adhere to moving forward as well. So in general, packs will be slightly smaller, but we'll have more variety. We have new and updated emergency colors. Like I said, we have several years of content having different standards in the library. So we did a big push to kind of standardize everything. I'll cover these a bit more in the demo itself, but basically we have 4 vertical channels that we all use for different parts of the shader and different features. A bit of a statement here. Making a good looking plant is not difficult, but making it look perfect is very time consuming and challenging. So what you can do with your own content is feel free to use these features in your own stuff as well. You can kind of greatly help you get to your content where you want it to be faster. Yeah, let's dive into the actual outputs and materials. The library has gotten an upgrade to the wind shader. So we have a more detailed primary and secondary wind plane now. We have some updated controls as well, but we'll kind of show this in the live demo. All the plants now also feature a health system. You can use it across each plant to kind of degrade it, or you can also do it on a global scale, like per piece and per actor. There's tons of customizability there. And all the material properties are also hooked up to this system. So you can see as the plants degrade further, roughness will also increase, for example, make it look more dull. But this you can also control the shader if you have any specific requirements for project as well. Collaboration can now work on a global level per plant and per part. It's a bit hard to see maybe here, but I'll also go through the demo. But it can just help break up the variety in the world and make it look more unique. We have added a feature called growth effect, because as a plant kind of ages and goes through different growth cycles, it will kind of look different and have different colors. Maybe even in some plants there's actually like a red color at the tip of the leaves instead of a green color. So we added this feature, to kind of using a mask that just masks in the extremities of the plant, and then you can change the color of it. We went ahead and also added two-sided tinting. It's a pretty straightforward feature, but basically based on the front and the back side of the face, you can now tint in different colors. Like we have an example here with an angel begonia that has like a really red color underneath, as opposed to the green part on the front side. So we added it. We have upgraded the color tinting in general for content, so now you can actually tint the stems and the leaves separately based on a mask, which you can also control. I'll go through this in practice a little in detail. Here you can see us just playing around with the colors, changing the stems and the leaves separately. On top of the geometry updates we did, we also added some scalability options during the shaders. It's a great way to kind of toggle features on and off based on your platform or your needs. So it's kind of easily accessible for you to just tick the boxes you need and optimize as you see fit. And the good thing about all this is that these values come in pre-filled out for you. So everything has a base value set up already on that. So then, how can I control all these features? So we have a global foliage actor blueprint, which houses some of the high-level art direction parameters across both trees and plants. We did choose to separate the controls by plant or tree, because you might want to have more wind in the trees, for example, and maybe less on the ground then. So you can control that separately. But you can use it to control the strength, the direction, the speed, even the wind tiling. And you can also use it to control the health effect I showed earlier, as well as a color gradation. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the live demo. So here are a small level listed up using both trees and plants. You can see in the middle here, we do have the global foliage actor. And I'm just going to turn off some of this snapping here real quick. And you can see if I turn this around now, let's increase the strength slightly as a show on how it looks. Now you can see, as I turn this around, it will actually shift the wind direction in the world. And all the plants and trees will going to react to this actor. Place the camera behind here as well. Like you saw, we have basically a controller for the noise of the trees, the strength of the trees, and the speed. And also the wind tiling, which is the wind gust itself. It also gives us some options so you can flip the wind direction. The current way it works is that the really kind of red winds is the direction of the actual wind, and the arrow is where it's coming from. But you can change this by also flipping it. So now the arrow and the wind sock are aligned in the same direction. It's a bit of a preference. Let's see, we can go in and increase the wind strength of the trees. Maybe we increase the speed as well. We can also put in some of the extreme values here. Maybe a bit funny, but we can do it. Now you can see that all the assets in there are kind of responding a bit more violently to all the wind. Let's get this down to a bit more single levels again. take a closer look at the health effect. So by default, it is in the actor set by 10, and that what we consider is like full health. But if I were then to start modifying this, you will now see that gradually you start to masking the decayed parts of the plants. Like I said, there is some variation here on per instance and per actor as well. But basically, putting it in the negatives to kind of get these solid colors of brown. You can also adjust these colors in the shader itself. So if you have a particular color or look you want for a plant, you can always change the settings in the shader itself. So put it at 10, everything is in alive again. And if you also look at the trees, for example, they also adhere to this. So you can see that they're also deteriorating in the same fashion as the plants are. And then lastly, we also have the random color variation. It might be a little bit tricky to see whether you have it through, but let's just go back to 10. See if we get spots and variation here. We have a different levels of that that shows us a bit better. If we were to go into the base color here, for example, you'll see that there's some different colors appearing now on the plants. So I'm going to drag this slider around a bit. Let's jump into the next level of breaking down some of these features in more detail. So, like I mentioned, we have different vertex color channels that we use for the shader features. And the first one we have out here is the red channel. And what this basically is a mask that defines where the stem is and where the leaf is, by basically having no color at the leaf and then as a gradient through the stem, which is then fully red. You can use this on for different features. We also have something called the branch mask feature that I'll show you on a separate level. But this is a big part of driving that, for example, and also driving the main kind of swinging motion of the wind as well. And the second channel we have is the wind channel. And what this basically is a randomized green value per component. And, we use this to break up some of the secondary animation just to make sure nothing kind of wiggles and wobbles in the same kind of speed and direction. It's very useful because bring in a bit more organic look to the wind animation. And we have our blue channel. This is something we call component or like shared root components. So you can see in this example we have in front of us here is that it's a single color because it just has a single root point. But if we then look at some of the other clusters here, for example, they all have a random value per element in this plant. It is then also used to kind of offset the main swaying motion as well in the animation. And the last one we have is the alpha channel. It is something we call distance or length from roots, basically. So where the root is basically a 0, and then it goes out to a value of 1. You could do this procedurally as well if you would like to, but we kind of like the control of having it in vertex colors. Because if we have something like this example here, something hanging upside down, we always know that the direction is correct and we have it where we want it. This is also used to then, in conjunction with the red channel, to drive the growth effect as well. If we head over here and start looking at some of the wind animation and channels are based on. This is the main kind of swaying motion we have, which we call the primary wind. It uses the red channel to kind of move it around and also uses the blue channel to also offset the animation slightly. So if we grab our trusty little friend over here, we can increase this going to the speed. So maybe it will clearly see. And you can see that the main sway motion is offset. All the media components, everything kind of moves individually from each other. Bring this guy with me, this one of the new tricks. And then the secondary animation is the more kind of detailed leaf wobbliness, if you will. It's mainly driven by the inverse of the red channel. So where it's not red, it's basically wiggling that part as a leaf. And then we're using the green channel to offset that further as well. So nothing moves in the same way, or doesn't move too super, basically. You kind of see the different versions of the channels being displayed on this as well. Kind of cycles through these. And yeah, how this looks like combined is that we get the main swaying motion of the primary wind, just then combined with a more detailed animation of the secondary wind. We done quite a lot of work on optimizing this, so it's pretty cheap, but as we kind of showed in the Unreal Festival Lander, that we're moving on to something else with animation for now and foliage. But we wanted to make this as cheap as possible, so it's kind of viable to run as well. To go through something that kind of drives this underneath, we can look at the simple wind dust system. So I need my friend again, so I'll bring it over here. So if we bring up a plane, we can visualize the wind dust we have that goes through all the plants in the world. So if we were to increase the tiling on this one, you can see what it does. It's basically a noise map that kind of rolls over the world. And how it works is that we have the red color is kind of the extreme highs of the dust, and then the blues are the lows, and the greens are kind of a middle value between those two. And as I rotate this actor around, you kind of see that it also responds to the direction there as well. Tiling right now, and we can have a quick look at how that will look on a field, for example. So we set up something quite simple here. It's a couple of flowers, or grasses. So what you can do with the system now is if you increase the swing, let's go quite high, maybe even with a higher speed as well. As we kind of lower the tiling, it will be kind of bigger gusts going through the world. And as we increase the tiling, it will be a bit more turbulent, and kind of a bit more aggressive. And again, you can also rotate this guy around. It will look a bit funny on the screen now, I think it's a bit extreme, but you get the point. Jump on the third level, and we'll dive into some of the health parameters and some of the other masking features we have as well. I can go into anything here. This is the branch mask we're talking about. It's kind of derived from the red channel. It's a very simple input. So it's using a threshold. We're just dividing that into different steps. And we also did leave a texture in here as well, in case you want to drive it with something like translucence instead. So you're free to swap out the input of this function. What it does, by default, it will do like a binary mask, what is considered as a leaf and a stem. So you can open up this shader real quick and show you how it works. So under the global type, we have the debug branch mask, which show you a colored version of the branch mask. And then your tree mask threshold, which will, let's deselect that real quick for you, sorry. It can show you, as you go through the threshold, where the mask is. You can also do a gradient based map as well. It doesn't have to be binary. This is quite useful if you want to do any particular effects like having gradients in your colors, or maybe you want to fake a bit of extra translucency in a volume, having gradients as well. So it's pretty useful. Put this on the side here, put my real estate in here. So, how can we use this? It's being used to drive the main color tint that we have in the plants. So if we were to go into this one here, you see that under base color, expand it out slightly more again, we have separate controls over the tint leaves and the tint branches. In this instance, I'm tinting the branches just a random color. You can also do it by value as well as color. And for example, if you want to have a particular kind of effect, you can do the gradient masking as well here. So now you can do some kind of, I don't know what to call it, no weird looking plants. But it can be quite helpful if you want to achieve a particular effect in your content. And like we went through the backside tint, it's a very simple function. It's just a two-sided sign, and then we are sending a value to the front and the back face. And then we can enable that in the shader. So we have a checkbox called as tint backside, and then if you then play around with this color here, you will actually start modifying the underside of the leaves. In this case, this is an angel origami. It has like this very intense red on the underside of its leaves. It can also be used for different effects, like for example in this blackberry shrub here. It's one of those plants where the front side has a wax coating, so it's actually a bit more shiny, a bit more green, but then on the underside it's actually very matte and bright. Easier to show you guys this in under. You can see that it has a different color value and also a different roughness value as well on the underside. It's a small effect, small detail, but kind of helps you just bring it a bit extra detail, more realism. And finally, pretty straightforward, but you can also use it to kind of tint the translucency separately as well. So under the translucency tab on the side here, we also split it by leaves and branches. So please select this guy here. You can see that if I were to go and basically control subsurface color there, and if you want to use the controller, you can also do the brightness, the intensity. And even though maybe most stems actually wouldn't have any translucency, you can also go in and actually boost them up as well if you wanted to. And then let's jump over to the other end of the room here, where we can go over some of the health features in more detail. Like we showed earlier, the health effect will kind of respond to this value here. And it's all kind of set up per plant. So if we were to go into this guy now, for example, we can actually play around a bit with both the color and the masking. So you will find it under seasons. You will find that there's a health overlay, health offset. So you can actually offset this value further in the actual asset. So for example, if you want to have something that you know would never decay in your game, you can basically put it at a higher value, so it can basically never decay. So here the default is 10. We can randomize the effect as well. We can mask out the branches. But one thing that's most interesting here is the color. By default, we have set it to be kind of a brownish reddish color, which will, in most cases, work pretty well. But you can also go in and override this. So you can get different effects. Maybe you want more of like a moldy or like a mildewy effect, for example. So if you now go in, you can have a little bit brighter as it decays as well. And the same here, we'll move this guy along with us. What's pretty cool about this feature is that it's based only on the base color. So whatever you plug it into will basically work. So here we have just picked a couple of atlases from the library that we thought were pretty suitable. It's hooked onto this shader feature. You can see that the atlas is also decayed. So it just uses the base color to figure out the gradient, and then overlaying this color in on top of it. I think I'm seeing something in the corner there. What is that? A bit of a lemon? Yeah, it is. Someone forgot the lemon. I got them moldy. But yeah, it's just the same feature. But the only thing we did was we added it in a regular paper object, and then we just hooked up the value to also affect the displacement. So as it decays, it shrinks a bit as well. So you kind of what happens when you have tech artists having a bit too much time on your hands and you get moldy lemons. So. And like we were seeing in the slide deck as well, that the different parameters also tag along here. So if I were to go into the reference value, for example, you can see it becomes rougher as it decays. A bit of a small detail, but it does add a bit extra. As you can go from this shiny looking plant and then to a more matte, decayed looking one. We set this back to 10, that was fully healthy plants. We go over some of the growth effects we talked about. Basically tinting the extremities of the plant using a mask. So if you were to jump into this shader here, you will find it at the bottom. It is called the growth effect. And it's basically taking that alpha channel and creating a bit of a height mask for you. You can also choose to add this effect to translucency as well. You can, for example, you can tell it to mask out or not mask out twigs. So now it actually includes the twigs as well. And if you were to mask them out, it will be excluded. And again, you can assign a bit of a color to it. It doesn't have to be just a growth effect. It can also be, for example, if you want to do stylized content, you have to particularly look on RG. So yeah, feel free to get around with this one. We need our friend again. The coloration. So the coloration is set up in the shader. So if I were to go into these polygons here, we can take a look at how that looks in the shader setup. There's 3 different colors, and they get randomly assigned. We can also randomize it for plant, and we can also use the mask out branch option as well. So if we now go in and adjust this here, you can see that we get the color variation. In this example, the right, it's only working on the global level, so you get it per instance basically. It's a bit of an extreme color, but you get the point here as well. And then we look back at the palm tree here, for example, you can see that as you increase it, it will actually favor certain parts of the plant first, until it then tints the whole plant to that color. Alright, with all these shader features now kind of gone through and explained, I think it's time to break it and see what we can do. So there's some crazy looking plant that our TA created back home. Some kind of alien looking plants. But yeah, you can use these to kind of create whatever you need really. If you have a specific look or architecture you need to follow. I was thinking we could set up this plant here in the middle. Let's go through how we can do such a thing. get some colors from like the Unreal Fest colors, maybe something magenta, pinkish. Something like that as a base. And then we can use the branch to it here as well. So maybe just do like a greenish blue, something like that. What we're going to do on top of this as well is then use the seasons function. So instead of just using it as a health thing, we can also use it to add a bit more color variation instead. So in this example, let's put it at maybe something like a bluish teal color. Maybe make it a little brighter as well, to be honest. And then as we mask it in there, we get it. So we have an extra color accent on the plant. And I have to say, this is probably the best thing I've seen all day. This is really nice. And there are further things you can do with this as well. So if we were to let's turn off the light here. I'll show you some additional things we can do. So it's kind of a bit of a disco scene going on in the background here now. But using some of these masks and color values, we can just put them into like an emissive class. And that way you can get these kind of glowing small flowers. And I think this really strange Christmas tree looking thing that just kind of pulls us on and off. I think we just basically put the emissive value out of bounds. Don't tell your TA, but it kind of made it blink. And you can also hook this up to like a value over time, for example. So you can do a bit of a burning effect you can see here. It kind of pulls this on and off. And for this one here, we did like a very dark top set, but then on the bottom, we plug that mask into the emissive instead, for example. So we get like a bioluminescent bottom part of the plant. And this one, not sure what to say to be honest. But there's like also like a bioluminescent alien-looking plant. So yeah, there are tons of things you can do. You can unleash your creativity with this. I'm going to do a very professional swap back to the presentation. And there we go. To follow up this, what kind of come next from the UV Tech plants and the Megascans library? As we all seen on the Unreal Fest Orlando talk, we were working very hard on the nanite foliage to be a kind of evolution to all this, and make sure we can have really performant, really good looking vegetation on our games at 60 FPS. And on the content side, there'll be more Megascans foliage packs coming out pretty soon. We'll be doing more guides and tutorials, kind of like we saw today as well, just kind of show what you can do with the shader framework we have and the features. Sorry. And we'll be expanding through all these topics throughout the year as well. So there'll be more stuff coming out pretty soon. And of course, we'll also cover some of these new features that were shown at UFS Orlando. So nanite assemblies, how we plan to utilize the instancing to combat high memory and disk sizes for the high complexity meshes that nanite uses. And as seen on that keynote as well, how we're going to use voxels to be able to really densely populate our roles with foliage and how we can seamlessly transition over. We will also start to kind of share more about our plans in regards to animation and how we can do it more efficiently for nanite. Since WPO is not the greatest solution, we're going to go with the more animation-based approach this idea. But more to come on that. Yeah, let us know what you need. You can follow this QR code, you can get to our public roadmap. You can also add your own suggestions. Yeah, let us know what you need for your projects. And with that, we are done for today. Leave this back so you'll not scan it. Yeah, I believe we have some projects for Q&A. So we do some.